I'm not really a massive fan of diet drinks, but or zero sugar drinks, but I'll tolerate them for the most part. And I love Pepsi and Coca Cola and all that stuff, and Dr Pepper and whatnot, and Iron Brew. But I'll never drink anything diet if I've got the option. But so Diet Coke is relatively not nice, and Coke Zero is fine for the most part, but Coke Zero with no caffeine is something that shouldn't exist. The whole point of Coca-Cola is the caffeine as well as how it tastes. And if you're going to make it taste like something I bought out of my local fucking chemist, I'm not drinking it. I saw this picture of someone that bought a can of Coke Zero with zero caffeine, and it was like, what's the point? What are you drinking that for then? Because it's not the taste. You're not getting the great taste of Coke without all the additives or the sugar or caffeine. It's like, what's the point? What is the actual point in what you're drinking? Because it tastes disgusting and it's doing nothing for adding energy to anything. It's there's nothing in it except mankiness. Seriously, just don't. Just stop. Stop. I'll give Iron Brew Extra a pass because it still kind of tastes like Iron Brew. At least Iron Brew with the cut sugar content is less nice than it used to be. The Iron Brew Extra ends up not tasting nearly as bad. Where am I going with this? Nowhere. Do you know, sometimes I get a little bit jealous of my dog. I really do. He has the most stress-free life in the world. Nothing bothers him. Nothing stresses him out. He's so carefree. He does his own thing. The most stressed he gets is when he's in the car. He doesn't like being in the car. It's probably the most stressed he ever gets. So he is stressed 20% of the time, I want to say. Not even. And I'm jealous of that because I want that. I want that problem. And I'm not going to get that until I'm at least in my late 60s to early 70s. When I'm in retirement age, hopefully. And it's just, and I like to think that I try my best to not get stressed about it. And I try to avoid things that are stressful. Case in point, the notion of driving a car. I will never drive a car. I'm terrified for a start. I just don't feel comfortable with the idea of operating a vehicle, right? And I know, and I understand that people will sometimes say, "Oh, you'll get over that once you're behind the wheel." But let's just say I did, right? Let's just say it wasn't a fear of driving. I avoid driving because of the cost of it. I don't see it as something that I would financially be able to handle. And I wouldn't say I'm careful with my money, but I prefer to spend my money on certain things than others. And driving a car and owning a car and maintaining a car is something that I will never do. As long as I live, I don't think I will ever operate a vehicle. Because it looks too expensive, and being on the sidelines watching my fiance go through the maintenance prospect of owning a car and just going through all of that stress, and I've seen how stressed she gets when the car needs something done or the car breaks down for no reason, and a mechanic will tell you that it's one thing when it's something else, and then there's the pain of worrying about what it is that's causing the breakage of the car, and you don't know, and you can't figure it out. I don't want that stress. I don't want the stress of having to pay tax and insurance and NCT every year. I just don't. It's such an expensive endeavour that I just don't want to budget for that kind of thing. It's too expensive, and it's the most common method of self-transporting around in the world, and I will not do it. I just won't do it. It's just no. So, I have opted to either go with public transport at the very least, or cycling a bike. And cycling a bike has to be one of the best decisions I've ever done. I've ever had. Or best decisions I've ever made. English, Dave. It's one of the best decisions I've ever made to opt to own and cycle a bike to get around. Because I live in a fairly urban environment. I live near a city centre. So I am within the most 20 minutes of everything. The furthest away thing that I would need to get to on my bike is 20 minutes away. The closest, 5 even. So I can get around easily. Very easily. And I love it. I use my bike 80% of the time when I need to go somewhere. 80% of the time, with the other 20% being either public transport in the form of a taxi or just hopping into the car with my fiance if she happens to be going the same direction as me. But I will use the bike 80% of the time. And I love it. And so far, it's been the most cost-effective method of getting around for me. Because from getting the bike in 2020, I think I might have gotten it in August or September 2020. And ever since then, I haven't really had to put any money towards maintaining the bike until recently. And that's a good investment in my books. That's a good way of saving money, because I haven't really had to put anything towards this bike until a year and a half, and that's good in my books. That's really good. But I suppose one of the reasons I haven't been putting any maintenance towards my bike is because I haven't been looking to put maintenance towards my bike. I probably should have put maintenance towards my bike a lot earlier. So I'm not saying that this length of time is ideal, but I have managed to get that length of time out of it before needing to really put work into getting it fixed. And this is where I'm going to talk about the problem I'm having this week with my bike, and it made me realise that I am nothing without my bike. I need it. So this started around New Year, I think, where I needed to get my bike serviced, or just I needed new parts for my bike. The parts that I had in my bike were just worn out. You know, the chain was rusting, the pedals were not great, and the brake pads were not working properly, the brakes weren't working right, nothing was working right. I needed a new tyre, everything just needed to be replaced. So I brought it into a local bike repair shop who is very well renowned in this city. Very well renowned, very friendly, very polite, just down to earth, nice guy. There's 2 bike repair shops in this town, and this is one of them, and he's the most popular. And the other bike repair shop, I've been told not to bother. Don't go to him, go to the one I've been mentioning. And I didn't really think anything of it until now. And now I see why. Now hear me out. So, this started around New Year. Like I said, needed everything repaired. And finally got everything repaired. My bike felt brand new. It felt great. This was about a month ago. My bike was repaired. It felt brand new. Everything felt fantastic. It just smooth as all hell. You know, I haven't felt this. A bike hadn't felt this nice in about a year almost, maybe 6 months. It just hadn't felt this nice since I bought it first. And it was great. And it was great for at least 3 weeks. Until I started to feel. See, the bike guy told me that he managed to replace everything that I asked him to replace, and he expressed concern with one thing about my bike. And it was the crank arm. Still a little bit wobbly. Now, if you don't know what a crank arm is, and believe me, I didn't know what a crank arm was until this week, I had to look it up. But a crank arm is the part of the bike where the pedal is on. So, obviously, you've got your foot on the pedal, and the pedal is attached to a little arm that is attached to the bit that goes around. So that's the crank arm. And that was a little bit wobbly. Nothing too serious, nothing too drastic. Didn't really need to put too much attention to it. All it was doing was this little click sensation whenever I was pushing down on the pedal. And it didn't bother me that much until this morning. And as I say this, it's Monday the 21st of February. I don't know when this podcast is going to be published, but as I say this, it is the 21st of February 2022. And everything was going fine until Storm Eunice happened. Hurricane Eunice, Storm Eunice, wherever you live, I don't know. But around the 18th of February, there was gale force winds around where I live, and it was unsafe to cycle. But on that morning of the 18th of February, it was calm. So I was cycling to work thinking it was going to be fine. And I suppose this is why you call it the calm before the storm, and I should have known better. So after I arrived to my morning shift, just as I was about to finish, about 3 hours later, the wind had picked up and the storm had kicked in, and the weather was just atrocious. There was hailstones, it was gale force, it was like 50 kilometers an hour the wind was going, and I'm like, this isn't safe to cycle, but I'll try. At the very least, I can walk it. Someone in work offered me a lift, and I told them, no thanks, I have the bike, I can just cycle. And she insisted that I put the bike in the boot of her car. Now, her car was not a truck, it wasn't a van, it was just a regular hatchback that had expanded boot space because you can put the back seats down. And she told me to put my bike in there. Now, if we're going by measurements here, yes, my bike did fit, but not without a little bit of shuffling and moving around and pushing things that didn't need to be pushed and turning things that didn't need to be pushed. My bike didn't look good going into the boot of this car, but I ignored it because I needed to get home. And she offered, and I couldn't say no, and I didn't want to impose. So that was fine. She brought me home. I took my bike out, and then she drove off. And I noticed that my bike was just folded up like an accordion, basically. It was all twisted, and the handle was all twisted round, and I felt something click when I brought it out. Something didn't sound right, but I ignored it. So I brought it in, and I was due to go out again for my afternoon shift. But this time I decided to take a taxi out, because my missus wanted to pick me up because of the winds. She told me not to take the bike, so I didn't take the bike. But I took a taxi into work, and she picked me up at about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, which was fine. So I didn't pay attention to the bike that whole weekend until Monday morning, the 21st of February 2022. I got on my bike about 6 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was, and cycled to my morning shift again. And my bike didn't feel right. My bike didn't feel... The pedal felt wrong. The crank handle, or the crank arm on the left of the bike started to wobble really bad, and it got worse the closer I got to work. And I just thought to myself, yeah, this is going to come off. So I ignored it while I did my morning shift. And on my way out, I went onto the bike, and the crank handle, the crank arm just fell off. It just unscrewed itself and came off completely. So now I've no left pedal. So I decided to opt to contact the bike repair shop, the one I go to, the one I went to the last time, the reliable one. He's closed on a Monday. Nightmare. So I decided to contact the other bike repair shop, and wait till you hear this. Wait till you hear this. So I contacted the other bike repair shop. Ring, ring. Hello, this is this bike repair shop. How can I help you? Hello, I said. I need you to help me out here. Can you take a look at the crank arm of my bike and maybe screw it in for me? His immediate response was... Actually, tell a lie. My first question was a rhetorical one. Do you repair bikes? I don't know, he said. It depends on the type of bike. What is it you need fixed? I said, I need the crank arm screwed in. He said to me, what brand and model or make is the bike? Okay, so I went down and told him. I can't remember what the make of the bike was. I don't really look at that kind of thing, but I told him the make of the bike and the model. And he told me, see, because that's a bike that you got in Halfords, which I did, I wouldn't be able to fix it. You're going to have to take it to the nearest Halfords, which is in Carlow. Now, if you're not from Ireland, let me explain where Carlow is. Carlow is about a 45-minute drive from where I live. He just basically said, go to Carlow and get it fixed. This is Halford's problem, not mine. Which is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I I'm 40-minute drive or half an hour drive on the motorway from Carlow. If I was to take a bike there, which is not happening, that's 2 hours. Obviously, I'm not walking. That's 6, 7 hours. You know? Can't even get a train there because that's also 2.5 hours because he has to take a detour. So, Carlow's out the window. I'm 40 minutes away from Carlow. Not happening. I said to him, would he not just look at it and have a look? He said no. Bring it to Carlow. So, a bike repair shop doesn't repair bikes if it's from Halfords. That's fucking ridiculous. I've never heard of that in my life, because Halfords is arguably the biggest bike shop in this part of the world. Most people, there used to be a Halfords where I live, but they moved it to Carlow, which is not good for me. Like, I can't get there. So that's probably my fault for buying it from Halfords. I even had a warranty for a whole year, and my year wasn't even up when they moved, so that was bullshit. So, the bike repair shop refused to even look at my bike. Very rude. So that was a bit stressful. So, now I've got no choice but to drag my bike around. I had to drag my bike home. That took 40 minutes. Because it was a 40-minute walk. You know? So to drag that home. And now I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow morning to get in contact with my reliable bike repair shop to see if he can repair it for me. And I'm hoping that he will. Because all I need is some sort of, like, I mean, I could repair it myself if I had the right fucking tools, but I don't know enough about bike repair to even do it myself without worrying that I'm going to break something further. So I'm not going to touch it. But nothing's going my way right now. Nothing's going my way. Now I'm going to have to spend a fortune on fucking taxi journeys or walk an hour to my next shift, and it's just frustrating. It sounds like a trivial annoyance, and I suppose it is sort of trivial because there are other ways I can get about. But it's just that I've relied on this bike to get me everywhere for so long at this point that it's very jarring that I can no longer use the bike to get around. And it's just, it actually upset me this morning knowing that I'm going to have to drag it around tomorrow, because I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to drag that bike around with me tomorrow morning until such a time as I can drag it into town to get it looked at, because I can't go back and forth otherwise. So it's been a very stressful week. Fuck. Anyway, that was a nightmare. Wow, I just got an update on this story now. Wait till you hear this. So, like I said, the guy from the secondary bike shop that told me to go to Halfords, he told me, right, so this is what I did. I went straight to Google reviews, and I found out that I'm not the only person that has this problem. He has sent people up to Halfords loads of times, and his reasons was that he wouldn't have the parts. Bullshit. Because I can easily get a crank handle and put that in myself and it'll cost £5. How can I do that if he can't, and he's a bike repair shop? Hear me out. He contacted me because I left a review saying the same thing. He contacted me literally 5 minutes after making this section of the podcast. He contacted me asking me why I left a bad review, and I told him, because you basically denied my service and sent me 45 minutes away to get it repaired. You are a bike repair shop, and now I'm going to have to either get the parts myself or go to the other repair shop up the road. And he told me, if you can get the part, I can put it on for you. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to do that. You are a bike repair shop. And he says, alright, fine, well, can you take... I says, listen to me. I'm not going to bother. I will go to the other repair shop because he will fix it for me. And he told me, that's fine, can you take your bad review down? And I said, no, I'm going to leave it up. And he hung up in a huff. For the reason that I will not be going to that fucking repair shop. It's a desperate bastard. How do you be a bike repair shop without... How? It's like going into a garage, like a mechanic, and him telling you, I can't fix this car because it's a Ford. You'll have to go to the Ford garage. No, you are a mechanic. You can fix cars. You are a bike repair shop. You can fix bikes. He won't do it. He will not do it. Now, normally when you go to a mechanic and he says, I'll need to get the parts, that's part of the mechanic's job. To order parts in, and you, the customer, will pay for those parts by proxy. That's how that works. This guy isn't having it. So, he's out of the window, and I will not be giving him my service, and I will not be taking down the review. Sending me away and begging me to take the review. Who does that? Who actually does that? Wow! He said to me, will you take down the review? I says, no, I don't think I will. He hung up. Big child. Big child. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's not bore you with further bike problems anyway. This is not what this podcast is about. This podcast is the GB Gaming Podcast, and this is where we talk about all things gaming related that I feel the need to talk about. And I've got a lot of things that I would like to talk about on this particular episode. I've got about a month's worth of things to discuss, from FIFA, or from UFL, to Sony buying Bungie, to the latest Nintendo Direct, to other Nintendo news, Halo, games I've been playing, all sorts of different things. So once again, welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. I'm Dave, talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. This is episode 24. Let's begin. Watch out, FIFA. Here comes UFL. A new football game has been revealed, and I think I might have briefly mentioned this on a prior episode of this podcast, maybe around Halloween time, I want to say. I can't remember too much, but I did know that there was a brand new football game being in development that's probably being made to compete with FIFA and eFootball, or Pro Evolution Soccer. And a gameplay trailer was revealed around late July. And so far the details that I've gotten is that it's free to play. And I think it was first announced during Gamescom in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be partnered with... Do you know what? I've seen this fucking organisation for decades and I still can't pronounce what it's called. Is it FIF Pro? FIF Pro? FIF Pro? How do you say it? I'm actually going to look it up.
FIF Pro.
Okay, he said FIF Pro. So, it's FIF Pro. It's been partnered by FIF Pro. And Ronaldo appears to be the cover athlete. And it's also built using the Unreal Engine. Now, here's my question. Will it dethrone FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer? I actually doubt it for now. I'm sure it'll be a fine alternative at the very least, but I mean, it might end up getting a lot of hype surrounding it, considering it will be the first true competitor to FIFA since Pro Evolution Soccer. But seeing as how eFootball has made an incredibly sharp decline in quality, this gives UFL the chance to step in. The fact that it's free to play makes me think this game will focus more on microtransactions as its major source of income. So a robust single-player career mode might not be a sure thing. Which sucks, as that's all I have, or that's all I play football games for. I don't play online. Like, it's far too competitive, far too toxic, and it's just far too focused on card collecting, and I don't enjoy that. I mean, I'm sure other people do, and that's fine, and I hope it does well, but if it's online focused, I'll probably feel a bit left out once again. So, I want to see how it does. I'm excited to see how it does, because we need a new football game. Because FIFA isn't doing a great job, and Pro Evolution Soccer is certainly not doing a great job. So hopefully, this might come in and ruffle things up a bit. But if it's going to be a battle of microtransactions between FIFA, Pro Evolution Soccer, and UFL, then I'll probably just never play a football game again. But hopefully this'll shake things up a bit, like I said. UFL. What does UFL even stand for? I looked it up before, but I just actually genuinely forgot what it was actually called. Apparently, it's called. It doesn't even say. It doesn't even say what it's called. UFL is the name of the game, but it can't even explain what UFL even stands for. Something Football League, I bet. I bet that's what it is. But I'm pulling this up from pushsquare.com anyway. So this was on Friday the 28th of January. And it says, free to play football sim UFL will take aim at FIFA and eFootball's crown this year. And here's the promising first gameplay footage to prove it. Billed as fair to play, this soccer sim will allow you to build your own squad similar to FIFA Ultimate Team, but the trailer promises that players like Cristiano Ronaldo and Kevin De Bruyne will actually play like they do in real life. The trailer shows off some supremely promising clips, including some neat ball control and well-orchestrated passing moves. You'll be able to play offline and online in both ranked and unranked environments, but the game's flagship mode will be its global online football league, which is what the developer claims to be, or to deliver, a fair, division-based match-making system. On paper, it sounds like division rivals, but get the distinct impression that developer Strikers has beef with FIFA. So presumably, it feels like it's come up with a more balanced alternative. There'll be roughly 5,000 real-life players in the final release, and with it being free to play, we'll be shocked if there's not some kind of gacha system involved when it comes to the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. According to the Belarus-based developer, you'll unlock players the more you play, and that is where my interest suddenly declines. And you'll have opportunities to upgrade players you've got as well. So I think I might have just answered my own question. In addition to players like Romelu Lukaku, Roberto Firmino and Alexander Zinchenko, teams such as West Ham United, Sporting CP, Shakhtar Donetsk, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bayer Leverkusen, Besiktas, can't pronounce that, Monaco, Celtic and Rangers have all signed up as partners. There'll be a team pass, presumably a lot like a battle pass, to complete, and you'll unlock customization options like kits, items and stadiums as you progress. And yeah, my interest suddenly just went just complete nosedive now. So this is it's clearly a competition to see who can deliver the best online experience, which alienates me almost entirely because I'm not interested in playing these games online. I'm the typical single player career mode guy. So if I'm going to have to just stick to that, I might as well just stick to FIFA. Because Pro Evolution Soccer's not doing it. And UFL doesn't seem to be doing it. I know it says single player, but it's probably not the focus. That's a shame. I was excited, but I'll keep my opinions to myself for now and wait and see what the game is actually like when it comes out. It's free to play, so there's nothing stopping me from actually trying it out just to see for myself. I can make my own mind up then. But they've obviously got to make money, and microtransactions is definitely going to be the thing. There'll be a battle pass or what are they calling it? A team pass. So that'll be how they make their money, I guess. Oh well. Sounds very similar to actually what Pro Evolution Soccer's doing more than FIFA. It's like a mixture. Like eFootball is doing a very similar thing where it's free to play and you've got to unlock things as you play and buy a battle pass or player pass or whatever the fuck it's called. That's what eFootball's doing now. And it's probably mixing that with FIFA's Ultimate Team mode and kind of mishmashing it together. Although doing their own little spin on it. The whole thing about players playing the way they play in real life is very curious. The only thing I really see when I see that in other football games is their animation when they run and the particular skills that you can do, and as well as the base stats like pace and shooting ability and all that fucking shit. So I don't know what they mean by playing like they do in real life. I'll be interested to see what that means. Because I haven't watched football in quite some time, it's going to be difficult for me to even spot that detail. But I'm sure other people will be able to spot it, and I'll be looking out for that as well. But as it stands, there is a third challenger for the crown of best football game out of UFL, FIFA, and eFootball. And I'm curious to see how well they do, but it looks like it's going to be a football game that's not for me, and I will probably stick with FIFA's career mode if I have to pick anything out of the three. But we'll see what they do. So that's UFL coming soon to PS4, PS5, and the likes. Good for them. Good for them. So, in case you've been living under a rock this past month, you might want to know that Sony has bought Bungie for $3.6 billion. And this happened about a day after my last episode of this podcast, where I predicted that Sony would buy the likes of EA. And a day later, they announced that they acquired Bungie for almost $4 billion. Now, not nearly as big a story as what happened with Microsoft buying Bungie and Activision Blizzard, but it's still a big deal, really, but it's not that big a deal, I don't think. Now, I'm going to pull this up from GameIndustry.biz. Sony Interactive Entertainment today announced a deal to acquire Bungie for $3.6 billion, the latest in a string of big-ticket consolidation deals in the games industry. After the deal closes, Bungie will be, quote, an independent subsidiary, end quote, of Sony Interactive Entertainment, run by a board of directors consisting of current CEO and chairman Pete Parsons and the rest of the studio's current management team. Sony has said Bungie will remain a multi-platform studio with the option, quote, to self-publish and reach players wherever they choose to play, end quote. At present, the studio is working on maintaining Destiny 2, expanding the Destiny franchise, and working on a new IP. Quote, we've had a strong partnership with Bungie since the inception of the Destiny franchise, and I couldn't be more thrilled to officially welcome the studio to the PlayStation family, end quote, said SIE President CEO Jim Ryan. Quote, this is an important step in our strategy to expand the reach of PlayStation to a much wider audience. We understand how vital Bungie's community is to the studio and look forward to supporting them as they remain independent and continue to grow. Like Bungie, our community is core to PlayStation's DNA, and our shared passion for the gamer and building the best place to play will now evolve even further, end quote. It also says that this would be the second time Bungie has been bought by a platform holder. Microsoft acquired the studio in June of 2000, securing its then upcoming shooter, Halo, as an exclusive title for the original Xbox's 2011 launch. So this caps off a massive January for game acquisitions, or game industry acquisitions. Take-Two bought Zynga for about $12.7 billion. And Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, as we all know, for about $70 billion, about a week later. And at first I thought, well, what does this do for people who are fans of Bungie if it's still going to maintain its multi-platform status? What does Sony buying Bungie even do? To be honest, as a consumer, I have no idea. As a consumer, if you are a Destiny fan, just keep doing what you're doing, basically. This is clearly for people in suits, I think. I don't even know where this even goes. I mean, obviously, I think if they make a new IP, will that end up being multi-platform, or will it be exclusive to a PlayStation platform, or will they get unique benefits exclusive to PlayStation and not necessarily the games themselves, like DLC or timed exclusives or all that shit? I don't know. This kind of shit always confuses me, you know that. But yeah, I guess like Destiny will remain multi-platform and they can self-publish and all that shit. So even though they've been bought by Bungie, they still get to behave independently. And I don't understand what that even means as a consumer. So I guess good for them. It's all a bit confusing to me. But speaking of multi-platform, We're not done talking about the whole acquisition thing regarding Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. Now, on the last episode, I said that there's no way that Call of Duty will not be exclusive to Xbox going forward. At least until the deal is done. After that, Call of Duty will definitely be exclusive to Xbox going forward, because I was always thinking, if you're going to buy a company for that amount of money, why wouldn't you make it exclusive? But in a surprising turn of events, Microsoft announced that Call of Duty will remain multi-platform going forward, and that we don't have to worry about exclusivity of Call of Duty being on Xbox. I'm using Call of Duty as an example because it's Activision's biggest property. But yeah, no, I think it'll be fine. I'm going to go on to thegamer.com, where there's a little bit more information expanded on this. So, Activision Blizzard games will continue to launch on PlayStation and Switch beyond the foreseeable future, Microsoft has today confirmed. This is from the 9th of February 2022. This comes from Microsoft President Brad Smith, who confirmed that the games will continue to have cross-platform launched beyond existing agreements. This follows on from the company already promising to adhere to previous agreements, seeing that big titles reach PlayStation players as well as Xbox. This makes the Activision Blizzard acquisition quite different from that of Bethesda's, which saw highly anticipated games such as Starfield go to Xbox and PC exclusive immediately. It's noteworthy that this new commitment doesn't come with much fanfare from Microsoft's side. It was instead spotted on a blog post concerning the company's adherence to marketplace competition laws. It's possible that Microsoft has run into some issues while seeking regulatory approval for the Activision Blizzard merger, and has therefore had to issue this statement in order to comply with the rules. Quote, as a company, we continue to be more focused on adapting to regulation than fighting against it, end quote, writes Smith in the blog post. Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the terms of any existing agreement with Activision. And we have committed to Sony that we will also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement. We are also interested in taking similar steps to support Nintendo's successful platform. We believe this is the right thing for the industry, for the gamers, and for our business. This makes the deal somewhat similar to Sony's acquisition of Bungie, which I just mentioned earlier. As soon as it was announced, Bungie confirmed that its games would remain cross-platform as it retains independent publishing rights. The deal also will not affect Destiny 2's ongoing development until 2024, so with any luck, we will not see an even more overly monopolised gaming industry anytime soon. Microsoft, however, will retain the rights to make Activision Blizzard titles exclusive if it so wishes. It just seems that this will not be the case with its larger releases such as Call of Duty. So even though Call of Duty will remain multi-platform, as would make sense considering it's Activision's biggest franchise, it makes the most money, it would be daft not to have that on multiple platforms. And I know this is contrary to what I said in the last episode, where I flat out predicted that it will remain exclusive to Xbox. It doesn't mean that I don't think it should be multi-platform. I think it should maintain multi-platform stats, because Call of Duty is Call of Duty. You know, it's always been multi-platform in some way or another. I can't see it being ever exclusive. I mean, who knows what will happen in the next 2 or 3 years? But I'm happy that it remains multi-platform. I don't want to see Call of Duty be stuck on one platform. And financially, it wouldn't make sense, because it sells brilliant everywhere. It's not like it sells best on this one console over another. It's not like, you know, they would be selling it at a loss if they end up making it exclusive. That's how I see it anyway. So, yeah, Sony has bought Bungie, will remain multi-platform, and Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard doesn't mean that Call of Duty will not be multi-platform either. So, all's happy, I guess. I just found out some breaking news, I guess, in regards to Call of Duty while I'm still on the subject. Call of Duty is apparently not coming out in 2023. And I'm going to pull this from IGN. And this was posted on the 22nd of... Fuck me. This was posted on the 22nd of February, and it says, next year's Call of Duty has reportedly been delayed to the following year. 2 decades. Cut that bit. Now, the original story was that the typical annual Call of Duty release planned for 2023 has reportedly been delayed into 2024. And sources familiar with the situation, executives in charge of the franchise, have made the decision early after a recent entry in the series failed to meet expectations, leading them to believe that Call of Duty's current annual cadence of releases was too rapid. The decision is reportedly unrelated to the recent Microsoft purchase of the publisher, and that 2022 Call of Duty release is still on track. But then there was an update to this. Activision reached out to IGN with a statement on the report that 2023's Call of Duty release was being delayed to 2024, and they said, and I quote, "We have an exciting slate of premium and free-to-play Call of Duty experiences for this year, next year, and beyond. Reports of anything otherwise are incorrect. We look forward to sharing more details when the time is right." End quote. IGN has followed up with Activision to ask if this was a direct denial of the claims in the Bloomberg piece that specifically the typical major November Call of Duty release in 2023 would be delayed till 2024 and will update the story accordingly. Now, this was on the 22nd of February, and there hasn't been an update since, apart from that update, which was the 23rd of February. I digress. Anyway, so, nevertheless, this will have been the first time since 2002, I want to say, or 2001, basically since Call of Duty 1 to Call of Duty 2, that there was more than 1 year of a gap between Call of Duty games, at least mainline titles. Because when Call of Duty 1 came out, Call of Duty 2 didn't come out until about 2 or 3 years later. And that never happened since. Since Call of Duty 2, there was a Call of Duty game, one Call of Duty game every year. And this is happening for the first time since then. But I originally thought it had something to do with Microsoft, but this has obviously curbed that assumption, whatever you want to call it. So, nevertheless, I hope that this is something that they plan to do that will improve the series somewhat. I am very much a lapsed Call of Duty fan. I haven't been properly into Call of Duty, not including Modern Warfare, recently. But I haven't been properly into Call of Duty since, I want to say, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. That was probably the last Call of Duty game I was properly into. And even then, I thought it was a disappointment in comparison to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. But nevertheless, I hope this is good for the franchise. I hope that what they're doing here is a good thing. It can only be a good thing. Has to be. But we'll wait and see what happens. So, yeah. Moving over from Sony, Microsoft, to Nintendo. There was a Nintendo Direct this month. And I'm going to quickly run through it. This was probably one of the better Nintendo Directs to happen in quite some time, and a lot of people are saying that after this Direct happened, that people are calling this, that they're calling 2022 the Direct sequel to 2017, and I'll get to that shortly, but in the meantime I want to go through this Nintendo Direct and just explain what happened and what was announced. So, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes was announced, and if you don't know what Fire Emblem Warriors is, I'm assuming you know what Fire Emblem is. I think it's a turn-based strategy RPG type of game, but Fire Emblem Warriors is a little bit different than that. It's basically a Dynasty Warriors game. It's Fire Emblem Dynasty Warriors, closing the name. And I've got the first one. and it's okay, I suppose. I suppose it would be good if or fun if I was a Fire Emblem fan, and I can definitely see the appeal. It's just I haven't dove into the series proper, and I'm a massive Dynasty Warriors fan, so I'm a sucker for that type of gameplay. It's just playing it, I have no idea what's going on. The same can be said for Hyrule Warriors as well. Good game, just don't know what's going on story-wise or plot-wise or anything like that. And I suppose with a game like that, it doesn't really matter, but I cannot get attached to any of the characters on Fire Emblem Warriors, and I reckon it's going to be the same thing when this sequel comes out, which is why I'm probably not going to get it anytime soon. But a lot of people were actually disappointed that it wasn't a new Fire Emblem core game. A lot of people are actually raging at this. So, yeah, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes is coming out on the 24th of June on the Nintendo Switch. So if you're a fan of that, then you've got that to look forward to. And then we saw Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. And I never played Advance Wars before because I never had a Game Boy Advance, so I missed out on this series. Advance Wars is a turn-based RPG, I think, or some sort of turn-based game anyway, and it's quite popular. I've never played it, like I said, but I think this is a remake of the original games, with voice actors and a reset turn feature, fast forward, and a bunch of other new stuff added. And that's coming out on the 2nd of September, I think, 2022. I might give it a go. I'm not going to say that I'm not interested in it because I've never played it and I'm just going to ignore it completely, but I've seen it loads of times and I can see where the fun is just by looking at it. So this might be a game I might pick up when it arrives. I'm hoping it's not too expensive, but it being a Nintendo property, it's probably going to be about 40 or 50 quid, which is ridiculous, but I digress. Let's move on to the next announcement, and that is No Man's Sky, also coming to Nintendo Switch, and I thought that was a really daft, crazy surprise to me, because I did not even think a Nintendo Switch could run No Man's Sky, but I suppose if it can run The Witcher 3 in such a way, I'm pretty sure it can run No Man's Sky as well. A lot of people were initially guessing that it was going to be ran via the cloud, as is with the case of Kingdom Hearts and I think Shenmue. I don't know, I can't remember, but there's a couple of games. I think it was Control, actually. Control is out on Switch but can only be played via the cloud, as is Kingdom Hearts. And I thought No Man's Sky was going to be the same deal. It turns out it's actually going to run natively on the Switch. So I'd say there's going to be a lot of graphical downgrade to get that game running proper, because that game is huge. It's massive, and I'm shocked that it's even coming to the platform. So if you're a No Man's Sky fan and you somehow want to play it on Switch, then there you go. If you're not a fan and you only have a Switch, then I guess this is your chance to play it, I guess. And then next up we got Mario Strikers Battle League Football, or Battle League as it's called over in America. And this one shocked me because we haven't seen a Mario Strikers game in about, I want to say at least a decade. At least. I could be wrong, but I missed out on the Mario Strikers games on the Wii and whatever other consoles it came out on. I never got to play them because I wasn't interested at the time, because I was just a FIFA fanboy and all I played was FIFA. No other football game mattered. But times have changed, my horizons have expanded, and I am playing a lot of games for the first time that I never thought I would enjoy that I now am enjoying, and Mario Strikers looks like one of those games. It's just crazy, gimmicky football, and that's all I'm, you know what I mean, that's all I want. So I'll probably be getting this, and it's coming out on the 10th of June, so I can't wait for that. Splatoon 3 got announced. Personally, not a fan of Splatoon 3. I can see the appeal, it looks addictive, but I'm just not into that ecosystem, so I probably won't get Splatoon 3. But that's coming out during the summer. And then they announced Front Mission First Remake, which is a remake of the original Front Mission. And they also announced the sequel is also getting remade and will be out soon after or whenever. So if you're a Front Mission fan, I guess that's a good one for you to play as well. Disney is deciding to get into the kart racer genre because they announced Disney Speedstorm, which is a free-to-play, cross-platform Disney Pixar racer with online modes and is out during the summer. So if you're a Mario Kart fan and you somehow want Disney characters, then there you go. Sticking with Disney and moving over to Star Wars, they announced a Switch port of Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Now, upon seeing this trailer, I first thought, wow, cool, I've never got a chance to play that game before. And then I was looking at it and I'm like, ooh, it doesn't look as good as I remember it looking, because I have played it before, just not that much. But I do remember it looking a lot better than this, I thought. And then it dawned on me. This is the Wii version of Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Why they chose to go with this version is beyond me. The only reason I can give that they decided to go with the Wii version of Star Wars The Force Unleashed is because it probably has motion controls. And the Wii version likely has motion controls, and they're probably shoving that into the Switch version, and it was probably the only way they could get that game onto the Switch with the motion controls if they used the Wii version. Probably so that they don't have to recalibrate anything. So you could say this is the tried and true definition of a lazy port. And that's what the Star Wars The Force Unleashed looks like to me, and I probably will not be getting it because there are better ways to play that game. Especially graphically. And more ports were added. Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection, is due out now. It's out now as I say this, because this is the 21st of February and it came out on the 17th of February. It includes HD Rumble and touchscreen controls. So if you have somehow never played Assassin's Creed 2 since it's been out in 2008, I think now's your chance to play it on Switch. I will not be getting it because I've played that game twice already and I think I'm done with that era of Assassin's Creed. I personally don't think Assassin's Creed 2 is as good as everyone's making it out to be. Don't get me wrong, it is good, but I think there are other games in the series that are much better. Assassin's Creed 4, Origins and Odyssey being three of those. A Gundam game was announced. It's called SD Gundam Battle Alliance, which is due out sometime this year. It doesn't look like my cup of tea. I mean, I get it. I've played a Gundam game before, and it was Dynasty Warriors Gundam. And I don't know, the Gundam series always felt like Diet Transformers. At least that's how it was to me. But looking at the trailer here, it's done by Bandai Namco. And it's running on the Unreal Engine. And it looks alright. You know, they're kind of like cutesy versions of all the Gundam robots. Just doesn't look like my kind of game. I mean, it probably looks fine. It's a hack and slash. But the graphics are nice, if that's anything to go by. But I would probably rather play a core Gundam game. These little cutesy looking yokes doesn't interest me that much. But the graphics look nice, I will give it that. It does look very pretty for a Switch game. I'm not trying to shit on the Switch for its visuals, because look at Zelda. Zelda looks absolutely stunning. And this game looks really good. There's not a lot of Switch games that look this good, but this one looks particularly nice. So I don't know, maybe I'll give it a go. But I'm not a massive Gundam fan, so I'll probably go in with almost no expectations. I'm not a Chrono Trigger aficionado. I don't know much about the series, but I do know that Chrono Trigger is beloved. And that Chrono Cross is also beloved, but not nearly as much as Chrono Trigger. So why the fuck Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition, is coming out on Switch on the 7th of April and not Chrono Trigger is baffling to me. Absolutely baffling. Where is Chrono Trigger? Why isn't it on the Nintendo Switch? At least via the SNES collection. Hopefully this is a good like maybe this is a good foundation for a plan that they've got. Maybe they will release Chrono Trigger eventually. I just don't know why it's not here now. Very confused about that decision to release Chrono Cross and not Chrono Trigger. But if you're a Chrono Cross fan, then you'll be happy to see this. But it's coming out on the 7th of April, like I said, and I guess the greatest thing about it is that you can turn off enemy encounters. Whoopie-de-doo. I'm not a fan of Chrono Cross looks-wise. I much prefer the look of Chrono Trigger. So I'll maybe wait before diving into that series if I can, whatever. We're not done there though. More things got announced. Kirby and the Forgotten Land got a trailer. And it was revealing the new mouthful mode. And if you don't know what that is, let me explain. The mouthful mode is a feature that you can do, or a mechanic that you can do in the new Kirby game where using Kirby's mouth you can transform into any object, like a car, or a vending machine, or stupid things like that. And it was quite entertaining. It was one of the most entertaining trailers I saw on this Direct, and it's selling me. It really is selling me. I am not a Kirby fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll give it a go. I've heard that they're extremely easy, so I suppose I shouldn't feel like this is going to be a difficult series to get into, considering it's probably not that difficult. So maybe I'll try some Kirby games during the year up until this game comes out. When is it out? 25th of March. That's a month away. I might get it. I mean, there's a lot of Nintendo games that I buy and don't play, like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, and Mario plus Rabbids, Super Mario Odyssey. I know I bought all these core Nintendo games and I haven't really played them, but they're nice to have. And Kirby and the Forgotten Land looks like one of those. I've got acid reflux again. This always happens when I do this fucking podcast. My heartburn is at its worst. MLB The Show 22 coming out on Nintendo Switch. Moving on. Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece, which is due out on Switch in cloud form, is coming out. Klonoa 1 and 2 are coming to Switch on the 8th of July as the Fantasy Reverie series. And I've never played Klonoa. Heard good things about it. Might dive in. Portal, the companion collection, is coming out to Switch. This is a fantastic addition to the console, because Portal hasn't actually been remastered in any way. And what's fantastic about this is that it's not only coming to Switch, it's coming out remastered. So I'm looking forward to this. It's coming with Portal 1 and Portal 2 together. And I don't know if it's coming out on other platforms. I'm assuming it will be. Because it's being developed by Valve. You know, it has to come out on other platforms. But nevertheless, I really enjoyed the original Portal, and I never got to play Portal 2. I kind of hoped in the back of my mind that they would be remastered in some form or another, and this is probably the closest I'm going to get to that, so I might pick it up. It's coming out this year. I don't know when, but it's coming out this year. Have you ever heard of Live Alive? I haven't, but I've heard a lot of good things about it now that I've seen this new trailer coming out. Live Alive is an RPG, I think, that came out in 1994. And it was never released outside of Japan. It was out on the Super Famicom, came out on September the 2nd, 1994, and it is getting a Nintendo Switch HD 2D remake. And it looks crazy. It looks mental. And the description here on Wikipedia states that Live Alive is a role-playing game in which the player takes on the role of 8 different protagonists through 9 scenarios. And all the scenarios are different gameplay styles, I think. I'm not sure. It just looks crazy. So I might just get this because it just looks mental. It looks incredibly fun. It's coming out on the 22nd of July, which is like almost a week before my birthday and a week after I get married, so this could be a good wedding gift. I might get it. I might get it. It looks good. It looks mental. I love the HD 2D aesthetic. It's gorgeous, and there's only a couple of games that have it, namely Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy, which is coming out soon. And I'll get to that in a minute. So, about a year ago, I bought, or about 2 years ago actually, I bought a Nintendo Wii, and mainly just no other reason other than I wanted to soft mod it and just fart about with it and just mess around with it. And my missus expressed her interest in me buying Wii Sports. And I said to her that I would buy Wii Sports, but I'm going to have to buy the game first and then buy an extra controller or nunchuck. And I said that I just said that I'll do it when I get a chance to do it. I haven't done it yet. But she's been expressing interest in me buying Wii Sports for the Wii for a while now. And even after I got a Wii U, she says, does that mean you can get Wii Sports on that? And I'm like, I could if I buy a nunchuck and a Wii controller. And she was getting quite excited at the prospect of it. I just never got around to doing it yet. And then watching this direct, I was surprised and shocked that I will not need to get Wii Sports. I won't need to get it. Because Nintendo announced Nintendo Switch Sports. And it's probably the first time we've had a game like that since Wii Sports Resort, which is also a Wii game, I think. And after I seen this trailer, I thought to myself, why wasn't this released on the launch of the Switch? You know, why didn't they make this instead of 1-2 Switch? But nevertheless, here it is. There's an online playtest which has started and finished by now. It was on the 18th of February and finished on the 20th of February, so that window is done. It's coming out on the 29th of April. And speaking of this game, do you know what? I'll talk about the features first. So, the features were announced as follows when this advert is done playing on the goddamn... Do you know what? Open it on YouTube, because I'm not paying attention to that shit. Shut up! Right, so Wii Sports or Nintendo Switch Sports got announced. And the games that they announced for it are bowling, volleyball, tennis, soccer, sword fighting or like duel thing, badminton, and in the next few months they're going to add golf and something else, I think, I don't know. But this is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant, because the best part about this is that all I need to do is buy another set of Joy-Cons. That's all I need to do. And then me and my missus can play with each other, because she's been wanting to play one of these games for a while now, and me being the lazy dickhead that never bothered to buy Wii Sports can now have a reason to buy this. So I'm really excited. She's really excited. So this is definitely something that we will play for quite a while after it's released. It's out on April. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, but going back to the playtest thing, this is really fucking crazy. So I was going to make this a separate topic, but since we're talking about the Nintendo Direct, I might as well just talk about this now. Nintendo announced that in the terms and conditions of the Nintendo Switch Sports playtest, it says that you are not allowed to share anything about the game on social media. And on the surface, this sounds like, yeah, obviously it's an embargo. You're not allowed to share any. But what I mean by that is that you're not allowed to actually talk about it. You're not allowed to discuss it Otherwise, you'll be in trouble by Nintendo. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to look for it. Sorry. I'm trying to look for it. Nintendo Switch Sports play test social media. I'm sure it'll come up. Here we go. This is on Video Games Chronicle. This is fucking ridiculous, by the way. This is absolutely ridiculous. So, Nintendo has had prohibited Switch Online users participating in the weekend past Switch Sports Online playtest from sharing any of their experiences on social media. The sign-up page for the playtest states that by downloading and participating in the Nintendo Switch Sports Online playtest, you agree not to publicly share any details from this online playtest, including your own social media channels. And I thought that was absolutely mental, because now it says it's currently unclear how Nintendo plans to police players who post images and videos from the playtest online. While Nintendo can disable the Nintendo Switch's built-in capture tools, and it appears to have blocked sharing on Switch Sports, external HDMI-based capture cards can't typically be blocked by the system. In order to participate in the test, players had to redeem a code from My Nintendo Store. In the description for the item under Important, please read the following information. It states what I just said. However, in order to redeem the item, players aren't required to agree to any terms other than those in the fine print. There also did not appear to be any notice within the Switch Sports playtest software itself about not sharing information online. And it was actually confusing there, because now it's like, it was like, how was anyone supposed to figure that out? I'm not saying people are stupid and that, like, but who actually reads terms and conditions when they buy something or when they play something? Nobody does. So you could have, like, I could have signed up for this, whatever, played it, and tried to share something and got blocked for no reason, and I would have been really confused as to why I got blocked, and it would have turned out, oh, we have it written down and you agreed to this, but you had to look to see what you were agreeing to figure that out. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't read terms and conditions and user agreements, but not a lot of people do. It's fairly common not to. But Liam Robertson at Dr_Cupcakes on Twitter, he's verified, but I don't know who he is. Oh, he's part of Did You Know Gaming. He said, in more news of Nintendo being dumb and out of touch, they are prohibiting players of the Nintendo Switch Sports online playtest from sharing anything on social media about it. I thought this was a playtest. Don't you want feedback? Don't you want people to be able to talk openly about their thoughts and experiences and to be able to show you any issues they encountered? Truly baffling. Someone else sent a screenshot where it says screenshots from this software has been prohibited, and they actually blocked the ability to share to, like, social media on the actual Switch itself. Absolutely crazy. I never thought they would actually do something like that, but here we are. But someone else said that they get it. They said that this is essentially a closed beta. If this is a closed beta, why was it so easy to sign up for? I suppose open beta means you can just download it and play it. Closed beta means you have to sign up. I get that, but I've seen closed betas get shared before. Is that normal? Do footage of closed betas get shown? Is that allowed? I don't understand. I really don't. But I just thought it was a bit crazy that Nintendo did this. Like, they want feedback. How is anyone supposed to share footage of any bugs that they encounter? I don't know. Is Nintendo trying to be smart so that they don't have anyone review bombing the game for bugs and making it a meme all over social media? They want to avoid that. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate, but I kind of get it. But it just sounds a little bit controlling. You know, it takes the freedom away from being able to share games and all that. Like, Koei Tecmo does a stupid thing as well, where every time you take a screenshot within the game, like on a PlayStation 4 or whatever, a watermark, a copyright watermark shows up at the bottom corner of the screen, and you've no way of getting rid of it. It just shows up. Like, I don't know. It comes off as a little bit stuck up, a little bit. We're better than you, a little bit smug. But that's how I perceived it. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, back to the direct. So Switch Sports got announced. I'm excited to play it. It's coming out in April, so I'm looking forward to that. They then announced Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. I've seen this. I don't know what it is. It looks like a music rhythm game. Not my cup of tea, I have to say. But Triangle Strategy got a final trailer. And there's a new demo out now if you're interested, and I will definitely give that demo a try. So Triangle Strategy, if you don't know, is a brand new game by, I want to say, Square Enix. Yes, by Square Enix. And it's done by the same crowd that created Octopath Traveler with the 2D HD graphical style. And it's basically that, as if it's taken a lot of inspirations from Final Fantasy Tactics. And that is basically what way this game is to be played. It's basically Final Fantasy Tactics if it was in 2D HD without actually being Final Fantasy Tactics, if you get my drift. So that's what this game's going to be. And this actually encouraged me to actually try Final Fantasy Tactics for the first time properly. And then I fell off of it after 5 minutes because I just wasn't ready to play that type of game. But I got Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions on PSP and gave that a try. And I liked what I played at that point, but I think to myself, I can't sit here and possibly play this on a PSP, especially a PSP 2000, the tiny screen that it is. So I'll probably get Triangle Strategy instead and just dive into that. But I'm looking forward to it. It looks really good. It looks absolutely stunning. I'm toying with the idea of whether or not to get it on Switch or PlayStation 4 if it's coming out on PlayStation 4/5/ whatever. I want to find out. No, I take that back. Take that right back. It appears to be only coming out on Nintendo Switch, so that's what I'll be buying it on. Coming out on March the 4th, which is next week. Can't wait. According to the Wikipedia page, it says that it's a turn-based tactical role-playing game in the vein of Fire Emblem and or Final Fantasy Tactics. So that looks good. I've never played much of these type of games. I mean, the closest I had was XCOM, and I suppose to a certain extent Valkyria Chronicles. It is a turn-based tactical RPG, but not in the traditional sense. Very more open-ended and control territory than that of Final Fantasy Tactics and the like. So that's the closest I've gotten to play those type of games to their fullest. So I've never actually played a traditional turn-based RPG like Final Fantasy Tactics, like Triangle Strategy. So I might download the demo and try it out to see what it's like. But from what I've seen, it looks stupendous. The only complaint I have is its fucking name. Why is it called Triangle Strategy? You could have called that anything else. I don't know. Octopath Strategy? I don't know. It just sounds a bit daft. But whatever, that's Square Enix is going to Square Enix, and that's the name of it. I guess that's what we're stuck with. I have to wonder, like, was that going to be the project name, the code name, and they just forgot to change it and they just stuck with it? I really have no idea. Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course. Apparently this is Cuphead DLC that was out already and it's now coming to Switch, so look forward to that, I guess. That's coming out on the 30th of June. And to all you Metroid Dread fans out there, a free update is out for Metroid Dread, which adds the Dread mode, one-hit difficulty, and a new Rookie difficulty, which obviously makes things a lot easier. And then there's a boss rush mode that's coming out in April as well. So a lot of decent content coming out for Metroid Dread, and like more reason to jump back in, see if you can beat the game with one hit. Death mode, no thank you, but I can see why people would like that. And then we got a trailer for Earthbound, and I was expecting it to come out on Nintendo Switch Online's SNES lineup eventually. What I wasn't expecting was the NES version, Earthbound Beginnings, and I also wasn't expecting it to be Earthbound and not Mother 3. Now, I don't know anything about Mother 3, even Mother 2, or even Earthbound for that matter. What I do know is that everyone has been clamouring for Mother 3 to be localised in the West since it came out, and it never has. People have had to do it themselves via homebrew or whatever the fuck. So I guess people are going to be waiting longer for Mother 3, but at least Earthbound is coming out for the Switch if anyone wants to play that, so that's a thing, at least. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Not Mario Kart 9. Mario Kart 8 is getting DLC in the form of tracks. And 48 tracks in total. That's a lot. That is huge. 48 new tracks on top of the 48 that we already have, which makes a grand total of 96 courses by the end of 2023. So, the Booster Course Pack is coming out for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And it will be 8 courses released at a time over 6 waves. So, 8 times 6 is 48. Yes? Yes. Maths? 6 8s are 48, yes. So 48 new tracks, 8 per wave. Between March and the end of 2023. So, if anyone was expecting Mario Kart 9, you won't be getting it at least for another year and a half. So, I'm going to guess it's not going to be another 2 years before we get an announcement for Mario Kart 9, if ever. But a lot of people were annoyed about this Mario Kart 8 Deluxe getting a booster course pass instead of Mario Kart 9. And I'm like, you want Mario Kart 9, but what do you want? Now, I already discussed this on a prior episode, where if Mario Kart 9 was to ever be announced, the only features I could see it having were a double dash mode or a battle royale mode for its battle mode multiplayer thing. And that's all I could think of. But you would definitely not get 96 tracks. You'd probably get at least 20 odd. And maybe 1 or 2 new characters. But what could they innovate? I think this is a better idea. Capitalise on what you already have, because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like I said, is the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate of Mario Kart, and this booster course pass only furthers that comparison, because that's what it feels like. Everything is here, basically. So it looks like every single track, almost, from every single Mario Kart game is going to be in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe by the end of 2023. And personally, I'm all for it, because I need a reason to go back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And that's a good enough reason as any. I'm glad that they're still supporting it. I don't care how old it is. It's still a good game. It's aged gloriously. There's nothing to fix, I think. I think it's perfect. Maybe a double dash mode, but we don't need it yet. So I'm happy with this. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 got announced, and it's due out in September. I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles, but I've seen it, and one word to describe it would be huge, massive. Everything is big. Everything is giant. The world looks ginormous. Just the scale of everything. It just looks like a massive RPG series, and I would really much like to get into the series. I was making a decision over the past week whether or not to get Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition or Horizon Forbidden West. I ended up making a decision in the end, and I'll get to that on what I've been playing. But for now, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out, and I guess I'm going to have to start that series if I want to play that. And that was it, I guess. That was it for Nintendo Direct, at least for this month. And to put it short, it was packed. It was packed full of trailers. Let me also point out that I was also disappointed at the end of this Nintendo Direct, because there was one game I was looking forward to, or at least looking out for and hoping to see, and that was the sequel to my favourite game of all time, and it didn't show up. That's right, today marks 9.5 months since the announcement of Flashback 2. It's been almost 10 months and I'm still waiting for news on that game. God damn it, Microids, do you not know how desperate I am for this? But I do have hopes. This is not Nintendo Direct related, but I do have hopes that at least by May, at the very latest, that we will get something, or at least I will get something in the form of news regarding Flashback 2, because I'm desperate for that game. I'm absolutely desperate for that game. But anyway, back to the Nintendo Direct topic. No news on Metroid or anything like that, which was a little bit sad, because I'm really looking to see if they're going to do Metroid Prime trilogy. And speaking of Metroid Prime, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Metroid Prime 4 might happen this year, at least a trailer. Because the developer, Retro, updated their Twitter banner, I think. Was it their Twitter banner? Yes, Retro's new Twitter banner revives Metroid Prime 4 speculation. Let's get into that. So, as we all know, or may not know, Retro Studios, the team behind the Metroid Prime series, announced about 5 years ago that they were bringing back Metroid Prime in the form of Metroid Prime 4. And there was almost nothing of any update of any kind ever since. And being a new fan of the Metroid series, I then looked up to see, this was before this was announced, to see where Metroid Prime 4 was, and nothing was being spoken about. And I also mentioned that I would like to start playing the Metroid Prime trilogy, provided that with the hopes that it would come to Nintendo Switch. And Retro Studios has now updated their Twitter banner to show a picture, an obvious picture of Samus, the main antagonist of the Metroid series, covered in some blue hue in front of a ship or some sort, maybe. I'm not quite sure what it is. But I'm going to pull this from IGN, and this is what it says. This is from Rebecca Valentine on IGN, and it was created on the 18th of February 2022, and it says, with nearly 5 years since the announcement of Metroid Prime 4 and absolutely no meaningful details shared since, Metroid fans are understandably desperate for something, anything, from Nintendo or developer Retro Studios about the upcoming game. So it's not surprising that they've seized upon a Twitter banner update as some kind of sign that news might be imminent. A day ago, Retro Studios updated its Twitter banner to this, and it shows the aforementioned Twitter banner that I was talking about. You can go to Retro Studios' Twitter page to look at it for yourself, and you'll see what we're talking about. And it continues, aside from the obvious observation that the character standing in the middle there is Samus, there's not much more to be gleaned from this image. It does appear, from the lines on the bottom, to be a view through a visor of some sort, but there's no way of knowing whose perspective it could be from. Is this actually even concept art for Metroid Prime 4? Sure, could be, but we don't know for certain. Fortunately, most fans seem pretty level-headed about what's going on here and are just excited to have anything received, or to have received anything, even the tiniest crumb of a Metroid update. Threads on the Metroid subreddit and various tweets about the banner include some attempts at analysis of the lighting and environment, but most are by and large just happy to be looking at something that proves Metroid Prime 4 is still kicking around somewhere. But there's some level of cynicism too. After all, since the 2017 announcement, which was literally just a title card, the only news we've gotten about Metroid Prime 4 has been the report that the game was being rebooted entirely in 2019, with development handed off from Bandai Namco to original Metroid Prime developer Retro. Cynicism was already fueled recently by a Retro Studios job posting for a tools engineer and a technology engineer last month, with some taking that as a sign that the game was still far off, though there's no real reason to suspect the job posting was indicative of a timeline one way or another. Regardless, some fans are frustrated that after 5 years, the only taste they've gotten of Metroid Prime 4 is a Twitter banner that may or may not be tied into the game they want so much. But far more are just happy for any excuse to think about Metroid Prime 4 again, especially after the 2D Metroid Dread was so well received, including by IGN. As for whether this means actual Metroid Prime news is imminent, it's probably safest not to get hopes up. Obviously, I agree with this, but we'll see. But I still would like to see the original trilogy show its face on Nintendo Switch, and I want to give Nintendo and Retro Studios the benefit of the doubt here, in that people diving into Metroid Prime 4 for the first time they're probably going to want to be able to play the original trilogy as well. So I would nearly hope that they would bring the original trilogy to Switch. And if the Mario All-Stars collection, the 3D All-Stars collection, is anything to go by, and the Zelda games, Legacy Zelda games coming to Nintendo Switch is anything to go by, we might see something along the lines of Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 coming to Nintendo Switch. Because at the moment, the only way you can play the Metroid Prime trilogy is either by playing 1 and 2 on GameCube and 3 on Wii, the traditional normal way, or you can get the box set, which is basically the trilogy in one box for the Wii itself, and it comes with a lot of enhancements for it to be played with a Wii remote controller and all that stuff. Also playable on Wii U as well. If you have a Wii U, you can play it on there if you have the Wii nunchucks and joystick. So at the moment, those are the only ways, the only real true ways you can play the Metroid Prime trilogy. And I've been holding off on buying that trilogy, hoping that it would show its face on Switch. But this is a great segue, because might have to buy that trilogy sooner or later. We have just received word that Nintendo themselves are shutting down the eShops for both the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS. And this came as, at the same time, it came in two ways. First of all, I'm not surprised that they're closing down these eShops. What I am surprised, but probably shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised and somewhat disappointed, is that Nintendo themselves said they have no plans to make any imminently unavailable games available on any other platform after the eShops close down, which means any games that are pretty much affordable on the eShop as opposed to the expensive physical copies, once they're gone, the only way to play those games legally would be to buy them physically. And if that's not what you want to do and you want to play those games regardless and the eShops are closed, then I guess emulation is the only way to do it. And while I don't necessarily think that emulation is the best way to play games, and it's definitely not my most preferred way, but I will make exceptions for things like this, where companies are refusing to preserve their retro and legacy library, and instead are like, it's morally the right thing to do to just emulate this shit, because if they're not going to make them available, then we will do it ourselves, because I refuse to pay triple digits for something that is at least €50, or at the most €50 on the digital shop. I refuse to pay even double that. I refuse to even pay €20 more than that, because that's morally wrong. You know, video games, especially retro video games, have become more and more expensive as of late, and it's due to people putting fake prices on games as a result of games being graded and the prices being like extravagantly huge and unrealistic, and people think that because they've done that, they think it's okay to sell their games for ridiculous prices, and then the trend continues. Suddenly it becomes the norm, and then that's just the prices that games go up for. Now, I'm not going to talk about that in particular, but I'm going to keep on topic with the whole eShop thing closing, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But I guess I'm not surprised, but we should be a little bit more aggressive to Nintendo for this. But the Video Game History Foundation at gamehistory.org on Twitter made a quick statement, an opinion piece as to why this is a bad idea for Nintendo to do this. It says, while it is unfortunate that people will not be able to purchase digital 3DS or Wii U games anymore, we understand the business reality that went into this decision. What we do not understand is what path Nintendo expects its fans to take should they wish to play these games in future. As a paying member of the Entertainment Software Association, Nintendo actively funds lobbying that prevents even libraries from being able to provide legal access to these games. Libraries! You can't even rent Nintendo games anymore. Not providing commercial access is understandable, but preventing institutional work to preserve these titles on top of that is actively destructive to video game history. We encourage ESA members like Nintendo to rethink their position on this issue and work with existing institutions to find a solution. And I am fully on board with what they're saying here. It's wrong. There is little to no reason for Nintendo to just dump their legacy titles and never to look at them again, preventing people from buying them. It's like, it's history erasing that shouldn't be happening. You know, it's like, it's not like movies. With movies, if you want to watch a certain film, you can find it easily. You can find the oldest film in the world and it will probably be there to watch. Like the oldest commercially available film. Like, for example, say I wanted to watch The Ten Commandments. You know, that movie came out in 1956. And I can easily watch that whenever I want because it is available on YouTube at €3 at least. Or it's available on Apple TV at €4. And if I want to buy it on DVD, I can do that. All I have to do is go into amazon.co.uk and it's available on DVD for €7. If I want to watch it on Prime Video, I can buy it on Prime Video for a £5. Or if I want to watch it on Blu-ray, I can buy it for about €8. It's very available and it was made over 70 years ago. Almost 70 years ago. But with video games, you've got to dig and claw and, like, struggle to find particular games that are over 10 years, 15 years old, older than that. Case in point, the Metroid Prime trilogy, which is currently available on, I want to say eBay, so I'm going to look it up, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? At the moment, I wanted to play the Metroid Prime trilogy physically. So let's pretend that the eShop is closed. We can no longer buy games digitally on that store, right? I want to buy the Metroid Prime trilogy. I cannot do that because it goes on eBay for about €100. Some of them going for €200. That's a ridiculous price for that game. And if we look at how much Metroid Prime Trilogy sold. So let me double check this here. A sales history. Now, I'm probably not going to find the exact number. Wait, tell a lie. It sold 650,000 units. Is that right? 0.65 million units. That's 656,000, roughly. So, about 500,000. 500,000. So 500,000 copies of the Metroid Prime trilogy are available in the world. Are in the hands of people in the world. Some of them in the hands of stores that haven't sold it yet. So you're telling me that those games are worth that price when they sold 500,000 copies? Now, what if I was to look up the original Metroid Prime on Nintendo GameCube? That costs €30. And the reason it costs €30 because personally I think the reason it costs this much is not only because it sold 2.82 million units, but also because there are probably a better way to play it, a la Metroid Prime Trilogy. So the best way to play that game is the Metroid Prime Trilogy, arguably, on the Wii. And the only way for me to get that game at an affordable level right now is if I go on to the Nintendo eShop and buy it. Because how much is it on the Nintendo eShop? On the Nintendo eShop, I can buy it for... doesn't say. Wait a minute. Apparently it can be bought for about $30 or something like that. So, if I want to buy that Metroid Prime Trilogy without breaking my wallet, I'm going to have to buy it on the eShop, and I'm going to have to do it soon because they're going to close it within the next 12 months, and while I don't want that to happen, I might have no choice. But it is what it is. We've got to adapt because we've no fucking choice, because Nintendo is going to Nintendo. They're not going to change their mind. They're not going to back down from this. This is what they're going to do. They will do what they like. They don't listen to people. They don't compete. They don't do anything like that. They do what's best for them. They don't necessarily do what's best for us. That, because according to them, at least from my perspective, I'm guessing here, I'm spitballing, I don't think Nintendo see us as a core audience of their platform. They don't listen to us. They will listen to shareholders and or they cater to younger audiences. Now, I know there's plenty of games on the Nintendo Switch that are catered to people like us, older audiences. But their core audience is families, younger people, and they don't complain. They don't complain. That's why Nintendo do what they like. That's how I see it. They do what they like because they don't get complaints from families, from parents, from kids, from people who just play games for fun. You know, people who are a little bit more casual than your average gamer. So that's who they cater to. So they wouldn't listen to people like us. Hardcore, and I put that in quotation marks, hardcore gamers that play games every day, that do take games a little bit more affectionately, seriously than other average gamers, casual gamers. We play games for more than just the typical enjoyment. We play them because we collect, we play because we want to see games get better over years, we want to see them perform the best, we want the best of everything. And right now, we're not getting that. Because Nintendo thinks they're going to just erase history and be done with it. They said it themselves that Nintendo do not want to preserve these older games. I'm going to try and see if I can find that article. Okay, so I'm pulling this from Polygon, right? Where the bottom of the article says, why is this happening? Or after the March 2023 shutdown and for the foreseeable future, Nintendo says it will be still possible to re-download games and DLC, receive software updates and play games online on Wii U and 3DS. Why is this happening? Nintendo attempted to answer that in an FAQ posted alongside the support notice, saying, this is part of the natural life cycle for any product line as it becomes less used by consumers over time. That answer is not sitting well with many consumers who fired back at the company on social media that closures will have a detrimental impact on many games' availability. In addition to many native Wii U and 3DS games that are only available digitally or are prohibitively expensive in physical form, the eShop closures will also mean the end of the virtual console on those systems. Nintendo's current implementation of offering classic games on Nintendo Switch comes in the form of the subscription-based Nintendo Switch Online, which offers a meager number of NES and Super NES games, as well as Nintendo 64 and Sega Mega Drive games, compared to the virtual console libraries on previous generation Nintendo platforms. Nintendo acknowledged those concerns in its FAQ with the following question and answer, which it deleted from the support site after the notice went live and fans called it out. And it says, once it is no longer, I think this is the question. The question states, once it is no longer possible to purchase software in the Nintendo eShop on Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS family of systems, many classic games for past platforms will cease to be available to purchase anywhere. Will you make classic games available to own in some other way? If not, then why? Doesn't Nintendo have an obligation to preserve its classic games by continually making them available for purchase? And Nintendo's answer is, across our Nintendo Switch Online membership plans, over 130 classic games are currently available in growing libraries for various legacy systems. Let me point out that 130 classic games, where about 60% of them or 70% of them are even Nintendo games, like 20-30% are not Nintendo games. That's not, and like the library you have, that's nothing to brag about. I will go on. The games are often enhanced with new features such as online play. We think this is an effective way to make classic content easily available to a broad range of players. Within these libraries, new and long-time players can not only find games they remember or have heard about, but other fun games they might not have thought to seek out otherwise. We currently have no plans to offer classic content in other ways. Which means they're not even thinking about it. So, I guess this is similar to what happened with the Sony thing last year, where Sony announced that they were closing the PSP, PlayStation Vita, and PlayStation 3 storefronts, digital storefronts, where after they're closed, you could no longer buy games from the storefront. And that prompted a lot of people to quickly get onto the storefront and start buying a bunch of games in bulk to stop it, just to stop them from like being unavailable, because some people regard those games as very, like, I am a great, massive fan of the PlayStation 1 selection on the PlayStation 3, I suppose, and PlayStation Vita and PSP's storefronts, where there's a lot of great games on those libraries, on that storefront, and I managed to download a handful of them, of games that I really, really wanted before, but I felt like I was pushed because of that announcement. But then Sony realised the numbers that the storefront was doing and the amount of money they were probably making from all this quick-fire, immediate, knee-jerk reaction to this announcement and just buying everything immediately. Sony walked it back. And they says, we'll keep it up for a little bit longer. At least. I think I'm paraphrasing. But they did close the PSP store, which is fine. If you've got a Vita, you don't need a PSP. Because you can play PSP games on the Vita, at least digitally. So, and trust me, I've got a PSP 2000, and it's not great. It's tiny. It hasn't aged well. I don't really enjoy using it that much, but I keep a hold of it because it's a product of its time and I like it, but I don't like it at the same time. I digress. So, the difference between Sony and Nintendo in this instance is that Sony walked it back after fan feedback. Nintendo, likely, are not going to listen. They're going to do what they want, like they always do, and there's nothing we can do about it. So, I say if you've got a Wii U or a 3DS and you're toying with the idea of buying a bunch of games on the storefront that you maybe weren't thinking of buying until now, do it. Buy the games that you really want to buy on those storefronts, because once that storefront closes, you're either never going to be able to get those games again, or you'll have to pay ridiculous amounts of money to get your hand on those games physically. And I refuse to do that. So I guess my next purchase on that eShop will probably be the Metroid Prime trilogy, just to have it. Because I refuse to pay 120 quid for that collection physically. No fucking way. I'm not paying that. The bottom of this article says, the Wii U eShop offers more than 300 games via Virtual Console in North America, while the 3DS eShop offers 191. Fan outcry seems unlikely to sway Nintendo's decision to end support for the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS eShops based on similar previous shutdowns. Like I said, the company closed the Wii Shop channel in 2019 and ended support for Super Mario Maker on Wii U in 2021, despite largely negative responses to those decisions. So Nintendo's going to Nintendo. They're going to do what they like and they don't care. They never think about fan feedback, which surprised me when they actually dug into the Nintendo Switch Online Nintendo 64 collection and actually fixed a couple of issues that people were having with a few of those games. It surprised me that they actually went in there and actually fixed a couple of those games. Not completely and not fully, but they seemed to have listened. But that's a very rare thing to happen in the world of Nintendo. So don't expect them to adhere to anything we're saying. Expect the worst. So, as I said, if you have a Wii U or a 3DS or both, and there are games on those platforms that you really want to get them now. Because they will be cheaper on that eShop than they ever will be in a physical format, because right now we are in some sort of a ridiculous boom for video game physical copies being sold. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Especially if you're a consumer. So, do what you must before it's over. I know I will. Do you like Halo? I like Halo. I love Halo. Do you want to see a Halo TV series? A lot of people do. Do you want to see Master Chief without his helmet? A lot of people don't. But the showrunners for the TV show don't give a fuck. You're getting Master Chief without a helmet. This is news that came about within the past week or so, where the Halo TV series, we all know about it. It's coming out, I want to say March. Middle of March. It's coming out, and there are reports that Master Chief, the main protagonist of the Halo series, the Halo franchise, we all know him to be the main protagonist. That he wears a helmet 99% of the time. We never see him without his helmet, apart from maybe one instance where at the end of some cutscene he took his helmet off and we saw a shot of his eyes. That was it. That was as far as it went, but we never see his face. Until now, at least until the TV series comes out, where they announced that Master Chief's face will be visible in the TV series. Master Chief will take his helmet off. So I'm pulling this from Forbes.com. And it says, the Halo TV show will reveal Master Chief's face, and it looks like this. There is a single rule about Master Chief in the Halo series, as there has been for 20 years. He never takes off his helmet, never shows his face. While there's no Mandalorian-like creed demanding that he does this, it's just sort of how the character has worked all this time. An unwritten rule about Master Chief, a rule that's about to be broken. It has now been confirmed that in the upcoming Paramount Plus Halo TV series, which premieres soon and already has been greenlit for Season 2, Master Chief will reveal his face. 343 Industries studio head of Transmedia, Kiki Wolfkill, talked to IGN about it. Quote, I think we set out to tell a character story and a personal story, end quote. She says, quote, and once we really got into what the story was, it was becoming clear that you really needed to see the person in the armour and under the helmet. You will see his face. For some people, it's been a moment 20 years in the making, and for other people, it is something that feels very hard to imagine. We absolutely respect both sides of that fence, those who really want to see Chief's face and those who really don't. But for the nature of this story, it felt really important to connect with Master Chief in a different way, and that meant showing his face, end quote. It should not be a huge shock that this is where we ended up, given that from the start, the main question was why the series was not casting longtime Master Chief voice actor Steve Downes, given that presumably you would just need a stuntman in the armour and the voiceover to be done later, if Chief is always in the armour. But with another actor cast, it makes sense. The logical endpoint here is that Chief was going to be shown without his helmet. And we know what his face looks like, since we know which actor is playing him. This is Pablo Schreiber, I want to say, who you may recognise from American Gods or Orange is the New Black. And I'm looking at his face right now, and now I know what Master Chief looks like. What's not clear is how often Chief will be seen out of his helmet in the show. In The Mandalorian, for instance, we saw Mando take his helmet off for just a small handful of scenes. That's compared to the Book of Boba Fett, which had Fett walking around helmetless for most of it. I would guess it's not often, but we'll see. I remain sceptical of this whole project, and I also think this is, what's the word here, a bit presumptuous for this unproven Halo TV series to think it should be the place to reveal Master Chief's face after all this time. I don't know. That just feels weird to me. The trailer was fine, but I remain somewhat unconvinced about how this is going to go. I hope it's a pleasant surprise and turns out to be really great, Master Chief's face and all, but there are a lot of hurdles it's going to need to overcome to both satisfy Halo fans and bring in newcomers. Halo launches March 24th on Paramount Plus. That was from Paul Tassi at Forbes.com. Yeah, no. The only people that are going to be happy about this are people who have only played a handful of Halo and don't really care that much, or people who are not fans of Halo but are fans of what this TV show is going to be and they don't give a fuck. People that have been playing Halo since 2001, or hell, even newcomers coming into the series, will tell you themselves and will vouch for the opinion that Master Chief should not be without his helmet. Absolutely not. But we haven't seen the TV show. We don't know how well it's going to be, how good it's going to be. We don't know anything. For all we know, the helmet thing could end up just being a thing cast aside because it will be overshadowed by how good the show is. Or it can be a train wreck, with or without the helmet being removed. So, I had no plans to watch the Halo TV series. But I might give it a look. I mean, but I don't have Paramount Plus, I don't think, so that's going to have to be something that I'll have to look into, maybe subscribing to for a small period of time, should I decide to watch it. Street Fighter 6 got revealed, and it showed, it was just a trailer really, a cinematic trailer, and it showed two characters. One I'm not familiar with because I don't play Street Fighter that much, but we also got to see Ryu, basically the poster child for Street Fighter, and Ryu is jacked. He is absolutely jacked. Someone made a joke that they made him in stretched 4x3 instead of proper 16x9. So someone actually took a picture of him and actually squashed it to make it look more realistic looking, because he looks ridiculous. He looks like the Incredible Hulk. But whatever. I made a dumb, ignorant observation. Oh no. I really regret making it. I don't even know why I didn't delete it. But I made this really dumb, ignorant observation, because when you look at Ryu, he just looks like every other action hero protagonist. You know, he's got the the spiky hair, the beard, the generic look, and I completely just didn't even think of this. A complete ignorant take on my part. I called him someone that looks like he's got generic white dude syndrome, in that he was white. I know I'm wrong, but listen, hear me out. I said he was white. He oh, do you know what? I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. Hold on. Let me just find it first. This was an absolute brass neck. Okay, I found it. So someone posted a screenshot of Ryu, and it was just his face, and he said, "Sorry, Ethan, Ken, whatever." Ethan, as in Ethan from Resident Evil 7 and 8, or Ken. So like, and I either misread what he wrote, and I instantly wrote generic white dude syndrome. White, check. Black or brown hair, check. Beard, check. Resting bitch face, check. And someone responded, "You seriously think Ryu is white?" And I just completely brain farted on it. So I completely didn't pay any attention to what his ethnicity was. I didn't even pay attention to it. I just instantly looked at him and just went, "Oh, look, he's like every other fucking white guy." But you gotta forgive me. I don't pay attention to Street Fighter that much, and I always forget where these characters are from because I don't pay much attention. So that was a dumb, ignorant take on my part, and I regret saying it, and I almost regret mentioning it on this podcast because people are going to take it the wrong way if they mishear it or whatever. But know this, I'm not a racist. I'm just stupid. Anyway, I instantly wrote after it, that was a complete brain fart on my end. I'll take away the white part. Whoops. Because he's not white, he's Japanese. Anyway, moving off from that awkward tweet, I also noticed the logo. The logo is, to put it plainly, bad. It's quite shit. It's generic. It looks like it caters to its esports affiliations. The number 6 makes it look like it has 6 unread emails or 6 notifications. That is a common take that I've noticed with that. And I wonder, I made a joke saying that I wonder, did they change it to this particular logo at the last second because of Mario Strikers? Because if you look, like, obviously they didn't, and I'm joking, but if you take a look at both logos for each game, you can't blame anyone for thinking such, because the Mario Strikers logo, very similar in some way to what would be considered a Street Fighter logo. And I wonder if they'll walk it back and change it. Not because of the Mario Strikers thing, just in general. Because if the game is still far enough away, they might still have time to change it. And almost nobody likes this logo. Now, I don't want to be in the camp of people who are overreacting to the logo. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Because it's just a fucking logo. It's probably a placeholder. But even if it ends up being the final logo, who cares? Who cares? But people are making a lot of observations about this logo, and they're taking it a little bit overboard, because people have made the observation that the logo itself looks very similar to a logo that you can buy, like what do you call them? Like it's a generic logo that you can pay for like, I'm going to look it up because I really can't. There we go. Eurogamer posted this. Street Fighter 6's logo looks like an Adobe stock image, and its creator wants a cut. This is news to me. This was updated on the 23rd of February. The new logo for Street Fighter 6 has caused quite a stir online, with many likening it to a stock image found on Adobe. Thanks, Auric, whoever. Oh, he must have pointed that out. And now, the creator of said stock image has offered to sell the exclusive rights of their design to Capcom. Adobe image creator X Cooley spoke to IGN about their logo being used, quotations, by Capcom, and shared they were looking to sell exclusive rights for the image to Capcom, removing it from sale to other parties. And the stock logo, when you look at it, it's there's no joke about it. Like, there's nothing else to it. It's the exact same logo with very slight alterations made by Capcom themselves for the Street Fighter logo. Now, this leaves me to believe that this could just be a placeholder, and threw this together in haste. Because I can't imagine that they've looked at this, they've made this, or they've copied this, should I say, made the slight adjustments and said to themselves, "This is the new Street Fighter logo." It would be in their best. It would be in their best interests to actually pay the creator of this logo, because what they've done is they've essentially just stolen a logo, made it their own, and not given the original creator any credit whatsoever. That's what it looks like. But let me just point out that the logo itself is shit for many reasons, not just including the obvious stealing of the original logo on Adobe, which is ridiculous. But the number 6 just, it looks terrible. It looks like a football jersey number, you know, one of them. And the word Street Fighter beneath it looks generic as well. There's nothing unique about this. Nothing unique about it. The Street Fighter logo is unique. Of course it's unique. And I don't know why they changed it. Someone also made the observation that the Street Fighter 6 logo looks like an NFT symbol, which is hilarious considering they could easily do put NFTs in their game, which is a scary thought in and of itself, but here we are. We've got this stupid logo, but it's not a big deal. I'm sure the game itself will be fine. The logo will not be a big deal in the end. But if you're Capcom and you're making a Street Fighter game, I don't know why you don't just use your own logo as a placeholder. Why this? You're probably planning on changing the logo entirely, but still putting that Street Fighter flair to it. Maybe. But if not, if this is what your logo is, that's a bad idea. Bad idea, but not a big deal, but it's still a stupid idea. The logo does suck. It does suck. So we're looking to see what they actually do with the logo going forward now that, like, it's almost been universally criticised. And I just find that fucking hilarious.
Make of thyselves that which ye desire, be it a lord, be it a god. But should ye fail to become aught at all, ye will be forsaken, amounting only to sacrifices.
Before I get into what I've been playing this past month, I just want to briefly mention that Elden Ring is due out anytime soon, I think. Is it out now, actually? Is it out now? Because everyone's talking about it as I talk about this at the moment, and I don't know if it's out now or if it's just up for review. It seems like it's only up for review, because I don't know when the release date is. Let me check. Elden Ring is due out tomorrow as I write this, so it's the 25th of February, so it's due out imminently, and it's getting a lot of good feedback, a lot of praise. Elden Ring, as you may or may not know, is From Software's brand new IP, the same people that made Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, all those games. This is their latest incarnation. And it was made in collaboration with George R.R. Martin, the author of the Game of Thrones books, A Song of Ice and Fire. So it's still directed by Miyazaki, but I don't know what George R.R. Martin's inclusion has anything to do with this. I didn't look into the development of it. But apparently it says here that Elden Ring was being directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki with world building by fantasy novelist George R.R. Martin. So I'd say the world is all George R.R. Martin's mind. It's all created by him. Okay, anyway. So, Elden Ring, due out very, 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 very soon, has received a lot of praise. It's getting 9s and 10s across the board. It's sitting currently with a Metacritic score of between 95 and 97 out of 100. That's for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X. And it's also available on PS4 and Xbox One. And like I said, a lot of praise for the game. And I think that's absolutely fantastic because I don't play those games very often, but I have played plenty of them, plenty of times. I don't look to beat those games. I'm not very good at them. I have no patience for them, but I understand why they're fun because I've sunk a lot of time into both Dark Souls and Bloodborne separately, and I've thoroughly enjoyed them, but I've never beaten them. In fact, I don't even think I've gotten halfway through each of them, but they are very enjoyable, and I can definitely see why they are enjoyed by the masses. And Elden Ring seems to be no different. Like I said, it's getting praise across the board by numerous different outlets. And I'm just going to go on to Metacritic right now just to get a brief rundown of the opinion pieces that all these outlets have. So I'm on the PlayStation 5 section of Elden Ring on Metacritic, and I'm just going to go through them, all the big ones at least. So for the likes of Games Radar, for example, it says, Elden Ring is both a refinement and evolution of the Dark Souls formula, presenting an expansive world that's as hostile as it is inviting. Despite the occasional excess, suffering has never been as much fun as this. They gave it a 10 out of 10 by the looks of things. Scrolling all the way down to... I'll make that sound worse than what it is. I'm not scrolling all the way down. I think IGN gave it a review. I'm not sure. Let me find it. I don't see IGN giving it a review anywhere, so maybe they didn't. I could be wrong. But the lowest review here is a 9 out of 10, and it's from games.ch, and it says, Elden Ring is more than a mixture of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. Its huge game world invites you to explore, and there is so much more optional than mandatory content. There are some minor balance issues, but they blench out considering all the strengths. In total, Elden Ring does not quite reach its predecessors on the eye level, but the game is still a need to play for any action RPG fan. Even though they gave that a 9 out of 10, going by this, it didn't sound like from their review that it was a 9 out of 10. It sounded like they gave it an 8. Nevertheless, I'm happy to see another Souls-like game become successful because those games are beloved by the fan base. What I don't like is the attitude that some of that fan base has, and I'm talking about the elitists. For some strange reason, this game has come out, and they somehow think that now that this game's out, Horizon Forbidden West, which came out the week prior, now sucks and is irrelevant, and they're comparing both games. I don't know why. They're nothing alike, and I think it's just because Horizon Forbidden West came out one week, and Elden Ring came out the following week. But can we not just agree that it's not that move over Horizon, here comes Elden Ring? Can we not just agree that Horizon came out, one great game came out, and then another great game came out the week after? Both fantastic games, and I'm going to get to Horizon in just a moment. So let's move over to what I've been playing. So, the last time I did an episode of this podcast, I was just starting Pokemon, or at least I was in the middle of playing Pokemon, particularly Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and now I can safely say I have it beaten. And when I say beaten, I mean I got to the Elite Four, I beat them, I rolled credits, and I played a little bit of the post-game. So I got about 60 odd hours into it. And I thought, after a while, I thought, right, okay, I think I've done enough to get as much enjoyment out of this game as I possibly have, and I'm done with it. I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to buy Pokemon Legends Arceus. So I purchased and started Legends Arceus almost immediately after I finished up with Brilliant Diamond. And I'll be honest, I was enjoying it at first. Like, I was just happy to see a new Pokemon game in this type of engine. Or when I say engine, I mean this type of environment, really. But after a while, I wasn't enjoying it so much. I wasn't not enjoying it at all. I thought The first 3 hours of the game was very drawn out, very boring, and very repetitive. I wasn't enjoying it at all. I felt like there was a lot of hand holding going on, a lot of exposition that I really wasn't interested in at that point. I did not care for any of the characters. The professor, the way he looks fucking annoys me. What's with that stupid thing that he's got in his head? Why does he look like that? I don't understand. Nobody's explained it. Everyone's just accepted. This is what the professor looks like. He looks like a dork. Let's just move on. Okay, fine. But I wasn't enjoying Legends Arceus, and I came to that conclusion after playing about 9 or 10 hours of the game, and getting through the first area and moving on to the second area or the third area. I thought, do you know what? I'm not ready to play a game like this. So after putting over 60 hours into Brilliant Diamond and about 10 hours into Legends Arceus, I decided to go back and play another Pokemon game. Because I was still in that mood. I still wanted to play a core Pokemon experience, and Brilliant Diamond provided that for me, and I wanted to play more. So I decided to pick up my 3DS and play Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. So I was done with Legends Arceus. I wasn't ready to play a game like that. So I played Pokemon Alpha Sapphire for a while, and I played it for about 4 hours. I must have played it for, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. But then I just felt fatigue. Like, I played it for a few days, and a grand total of about 4 or 5 hours, and I just came to the conclusion that I'm just burnt out on Pokemon. And this is what happens when I stick to one game or one franchise for longer than 2 weeks. I start to daydream, and I start to get distracted by other things. I start to think, what else can I play? So now I'm just done with Pokemon for the time being. Because not only was I putting 60 hours into Brilliant Diamond and 10 hours into Legends Arceus and about 3 or 4 hours into Alpha Sapphire, because in between that, I'm going through the Pokemon Discord, I'm going through the Pokemon Reddit page, subreddit page, I'm looking up guides on how to do this and how to do that and secrets and all this and where to go here and where to go, and I'm like, do you know what, I think I've grinded long enough. And not only that, opening up, downloading and playing Pokemon Go on my phone again, it's like, too much Pokemon happening right now. I think I'm done. Case in point, Horizon Forbidden West. Now, I was skeptical to even look at this game, let alone buy it. Because I'm still sitting here with a PlayStation 4 Pro. It's been almost 2 years, and I've still yet to manage to get a PS5, be it from having the money and it not being available, or it being available and not having the money. Either way, I'm still PS5-less. Not that that's a bad thing, I'm still enjoying a lot of games on my PS4, but there are a few games that I've played over the past few months that were also released on PS5 and have shown to be grossly inferior on the PS4 to a noticeable level, almost off-putting in a way. Like, this was the case with Cyberpunk. I mean, that and the fact that it was a buggy mess to begin with. And also, what else was it? Watch Dogs Legion, where it just performed and looked atrocious on PS4. And so I was playing Watch Dogs Legion on PS4 and it just looked ugly. The resolution was really low, everything looked jagged, everything looked badly rendered in. And I thought, right, what if I tried the Xbox One version of Watch Dogs Legion? Because the Xbox One X is significantly more powerful than the PS4 Pro, and it does a lot better in the performance department. So I tried Watch Dogs Legion on Xbox One X, and there was a lot of screen tearing. So I was like, nope, the game might look better, which it did, but screen tearing is an instant turn off for me. So I instantly got a refund for that. So I came to the conclusion that playing PS4 games that were made to be played on PS5 is a bad idea. And I thought the same thing was going to apply with Horizon Forbidden West when it was announced to also be coming to PS4 as well as PS5. Because it was originally coming out on PS5 and not PS4, at least we didn't know it was coming to PS4 until they announced it a while after it was announced that it was coming to PS4 as well. And it wasn't until Guerrilla made a statement promising that the game will look and play exceptional on both generations, and then hearing reports that the game does indeed run, look, and play brilliantly, even on a base PS4 that I opted to jump in impulsively, no less, and buy it on launch day. And I am relieved and proud to say that after playing it for almost a week, it is absolutely fantastic on PS4. Now, obviously, it doesn't look as good as on PS5, but that line is so blurry if you're not looking for it. And even if you are looking for it, it's still a bit blurry because the PS4 version looks gorgeous. Like, it doesn't even begin to put me off, and it should be expected. Like, it should be expected that the PS5 version is the definitive way to play Horizon Forbidden West, and I'm sure it is. But if I was on PS5 and found out that the game looked the exact same on PS4, I would be curious as to why they didn't take advantage of the newer system. But they actually did take advantage without completely leaving the PS4 version to the sidelines, and I fully respect that. So I'm playing it on PS4 Pro. And with PS4 Pro, it runs at a dynamic 1800p resolution. That's fine to me. That is perfectly fine to me. It doesn't need to be full 4K, but it's still nice looking. And if you're playing it on PS5, if you're playing it on performance mode, you're also getting the 1800p, but it's in 60 frames per second. And obviously you've got more render detail and texture detail and whatnot. Yeah, right? Okay, so the PS4 Pro version is 1800p, 30 frames per second, and it looks stunning. It looks absolutely stunning. Like, so what if it has less leaves on a fucking tree? Like, so what if the render distance isn't quite as good as the PS5? And so what if the loading times aren't nearly as good as the PS5? Those are negligible observations, because Horizon Forbidden West on PS4 Pro is a fucking amazing experience. It runs super well, and it looks amazing. And I've taken screenshots on the photo mode of this game, and I still can't get over how well this game looks on PS4 Pro. It looks incredible. Absolutely incredible. So I'm relieved that I decided to jump in and just get this game on PS4 Pro, because I originally wasn't going to. I originally was going to say, at least when I get a PS5, that'll give me a reason to get Horizon Forbidden West, or vice versa if I want. You know, I wasn't even thinking about getting Horizon Forbidden West on PS4, but the closer the date got, and the more positives I heard about it, the more I was interested, and now I have it, and it's super fun. It's so good, and it makes me forget that the PS5 version even exists. And I've seen footage of the PS5 version, and it looks brilliant. But it's not that much brilliant than the PS4 version. It obviously looks better and performs better, but the differences are negligible in my books. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And to further talk about the improvements that they've made and how they did it, I found an article a few days ago, and I want to look for it here. Where did I find it? It was on Engadget, and there was an interview with one of the developers of the game, or one of the people that work for Guerrilla. And the article's fantastic, so I'm going to see if I can pull out some certain paragraphs from it. Okay, so this is okay, I found it. Right, so it says, it's not unusual for games to be released on both consoles, but Forbidden West is notable for being a particularly massive and detailed game, perhaps the most advanced title yet to come out on the PS5. In a conversation with Engadget, game director Matthias de Jong I can't pronounce that, and technical director Mikael van der Loo, sorry lads, discussed Guerrilla's process for making sure that the game worked for the PS4 while simultaneously showing off everything the PS5 is capable of. Quote, "We knew it was going to be tricky making something that would make the PlayStation 5 shine, but also be really rewarding for people who have a PS4. So we're very happy that we knew about the PS5's capabilities very early on, because that meant we could plan for how we're going to make this distinction," end quote. The most immediately obvious difference between the two versions is visual fidelity, with the PS5 targeting 4K resolution reduced to a checkerboard upscaled 1800p when running in 60 frames per second in performance mode. Quote, "From the start, we targeted having higher fidelity characters, high fidelity environments, higher fidelity vegetation, everything just for the PS5, end quote. So you'll see different models for the PS4 version, but with the same sort of atmosphere throughout the game. The realities of playtesting during a worldwide pandemic actually provided Guerrilla plenty of opportunities to get feedback on the PS4 experience. Quote, "It was really difficult for us. The pandemic just hit us while we were in peak production," end quote. But Guerrilla was able to use Sony's PlayStation Now game streaming technology to send early builds of the game to PS4 playtesters. Quote, "Because of the pandemic, we had to switch to remote playtesting," end quote. Sony would have done with the PS5, but it wasn't possible to have people into their offices during the pandemic. The upshot of this was that Guerrilla had to make sure the PlayStation 4 version was getting plenty of attention throughout the development process. Quote, "It was a big advantage in a way that we did have the PS4," end quote. And he then goes on to say, "Because that meant we really had to get the build in a good state rather than just focusing on the PS5 version." And then it says, yeah, so it's more of that stuff basically. So I'm not going to go through the whole article, it's a big read, but if you want to go on it, I suggest you go into Engadget and just look for the article that says Guerrilla Games explains why Horizon Forbidden West works well on PS4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the video or podcast description for you to go and look for it yourself if you want to read it for your own pleasure. Okay, so yeah, they did a fantastic job anyway, speaking on the short version. And I also found out that Horizon Forbidden West was delayed to avoid crunch. And that was so great to hear. It was brilliant to read because everyone knows that crunch is the biggest fucking criminal in video game development. It's the worst thing about it. And I'm pulling this from GameIndustry.biz because I'm going to... yeah. So here's what it says. Horizon Forbidden West was delayed to avoid crunch. Guerrilla Games revealed Horizon Forbidden West was delayed. In an interview with Dutch publication NU.nl, director Matthias de Jong was asked about the company's view on overtime, to which he replied that it very rarely happens at Guerrilla. Quote, "We are very aware of the disadvantages of crunching, so we take this into account in our planning a lot," end quote. He added that Horizon Forbidden West could have launched at the end of 2021, but that would have required staff to work overtime, which the studio didn't want to do. Quote, "People should also be able to relax and take a vacation, for example, to be with family and friends." He continued, "That also played a part in the decision to release the game now," end quote. Horizon Forbidden West was initially due to release in 2021, but Guerrilla announced in August last year that it was being pushed back to February 2022, as production was also impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn launched last Friday to excellent reviews and became the second biggest PS5 launch in the UK. And I fully agree that crunch is just the worst thing in the world. And some people... I got into an argument, like a debate with someone over this, and it tired me out because he just wasn't I don't think he was understanding where I was coming from, so I ended up muting him in the end. So I'm going to try and look for it. It was ridiculous. Where did I find it? This was a few days ago. Here we go. I found it. So this guy replied to someone who said, do you know what? If I pull this up on Twitter, I might find it. Hold on. Oh, I lost the original tweet, but someone wrote, as a dev, unlimited time to make a game does not automatically make it good. Games, as with all entertainment, are subject experiences. All time does is allow for more polish, and frankly, not every game needs to be a perfect experience. I will acknowledge that some games are rushed, but not all are. And to expect that all games must be perfectly polished masterpieces to be deemed worthy by the internet as a whole only serves to restrict creativity. Now, I responded to this dude. I said, who said unlimited? If you're making a thing, then take the time you need to complete, not the time they need. And then he asked me, how do you determine how much time is needed? And I said, take the time that you need. And he said, how is that an answer to fucking anything? Do you have the slightest idea what kind of planning goes into game development? And I don't. But what I do know is that developers can take their time if they choose. And the Horizon thing is a perfect example of that. And that's my point. But he kept getting angry at me for no reason. And then he said, I'm upset because you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what goes into the planning for a video game and would rather get upset about some nebulous concept of game developers just taking their time. And I think he was just looking for a conversation I'm not trying to have, because developers have proven time and time again that they can take the time they need to release a game without stressing on deadlines. For example, Guerrilla said they delayed Horizon to avoid crunch. So what am I missing? And his first argument was people saying devs need unlimited time when nobody said such a thing. And then I stopped talking to him after a while. And then I woke up the following morning to more replies from him, and that it was a 2-part tweet, and I just refused to read it. And I just said, look, I saw 2 out of 2, not reading a thing, you're arguing for the hell of it at this point. And then he said, not my fault, you just want to ask developers to do shit without even understanding from a conceptual level what you're asking for. You don't understand how games are made, and then insist that what you're asking for must be a simple thing. Nope. All I'm saying is that when you're a game developer and you're developing a thing, you have the ability to take the time that you need to get the thing out without problems and without rushing it around and without using crunch. Because crunch isn't a necessity. It never has been, and I don't know where it came from that it did. I have no idea where it came from that it needed to be a necessity. Why a deadline? They're video games. You know, they are creations. Nobody rushes a painter to have a painting ready for a certain date so that it can go into the art museum for everyone to see or buy. So why do video games need a deadline? To cater to who? Is this the part that proves that I don't know anything about game development? Maybe. But all I know is that from looking in from the outside, I can clearly see that developers can avoid crunch if they choose to, and Horizon developer Guerrilla have done that. So what am I missing? That's all I was trying to point out, but he wanted to have an argument about it. So I didn't continue the argument with him, but he really wanted the argument, but I wasn't having it. But I don't think I missed anything, but whatever. So yeah. Horizon Forbidden West is fantastic. I'm only on the first 10 to 12 hours of the game, not by a narrative standpoint, just by how much I've played and where I am. I'm not that far in the main campaign. I've only done like 3 or 4 main story missions. I'm doing side missions at the moment. I'm currently going around the first area, visiting I think they're like out watchtowers or something like that to collect dishes or something. I can't remember. But I'm climbing these massive towers that are on cliffs, and I'm grabbing these items off of these buildings and handing them to an NPC. So I've got to go up 6 of those buildings, I think, and that's what I'm doing right now, and it's really fun. It's brilliant. If you're on the fence about Horizon Forbidden West, I highly recommend it. How can I explain what Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West is? Do you like Assassin's Creed? If you do, then you will like Horizon Zero Dawn. And if you're going to play Horizon Forbidden West, I highly recommend you either play through Horizon Zero Dawn in its entirety or watch a recap video going into detail about the plot of Zero Dawn, because you kinda need to know, in fact, you do need to know the context of Zero Dawn before going into Forbidden West, because Forbidden West makes a lot of references to Zero Dawn, and you meet a lot of characters that are from Zero Dawn in Forbidden West. So basically, yes, you need to have an understanding of Zero Dawn before going into Forbidden West. But I don't see why you shouldn't play Horizon Zero Dawn first, because the game's aged well in my books. It plays fantastic. There's not that much of a difference between the two games from a gameplay perspective, apart from new features and quality of life improvements. But other than that, both games play fantastic, and both of Zero Dawn has aged tremendously well, even though it's only 5 years old. So yeah, play Horizon Forbidden West, or play Horizon Zero Dawn. Or if you want to be punished, play Elden Ring. I know I'll be buying Elden Ring when I get a chance, and I'll probably never beat it, but I want to play it. I want to see what it's like. But yeah, I think I'm done. So that was a very meaty episode of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then you know exactly what to do. So thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this, and like I said, you know what to do if you enjoyed it and all that shit. And I'll see you next time, I guess. So thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode of the GB Gaming Podcast. This has been Dave talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. Thanks again, and I'll catch you after. Cheerio. Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this content. If you want to see more, then please check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/gamerboy. That's GAMERBHOY. Gamerboy with an H. This is the home of GB Gaming, the home of GB Reviews. Blame on that one level that killed me 68 fucking times. All just so I could get a couple of fucking letters. Just play. Ah! Right, that's it, I'm done. No. Just ran.
The Metal Gear franchise is made and owned by a scumbag company such as Konami, and it bugs me that my new love for the Castlevania franchise is somewhat diminished.
And of course, the GB Gaming Podcast, available on both YouTube and Spotify. If you're a Spotify user, be sure to use the search bar and input GB Gaming Podcast. All my episodes are here, as well as SoundCloud if that's your thing. If you're a SoundCloud user, then all you need to do is visit soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. That's soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. If you like all of what I've just mentioned, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified on all future content. I'm also on Twitter. You can find all my stupid opinions if you search for me at GamerBoy89. All of my channel updates go through here as well, so if you haven't hit the bell, you can always find updates here. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to though. If you're just a passerby, then thank you for stopping in. Don't forget to leave feedback. I'm always looking to improve on things, so don't be shy to say what you think. Once again, thank you for visiting GB Gaming, where video games come first.